हेलो इग्नू पॉइंट्स, कैसे हैं आप सब? आई होप आप सब अच्छे होंगे. सो वी आर बैक विद अनदर एक्सप्लेनेशन वीडियो BEGS 185 English language teaching. This assignment is for July 2023 and January 2024 session. So here are 3 sections and we have to attend all these sections. Section A. Write short notes on the following. Language learning aptitude. Language learning aptitude does not refer to whether or not an individual can or cannot learn a foreign language. It is assumed that virtually everybody can learn a language given adequate opportunity. According to John B. Carroll and Stanley Sapon, the author of the Modern Language Aptitude Test, language learning aptitude does refer to the prediction of how well, relative to other individuals, an individual can learn a foreign language in a given amount of time and under given condition. John B. Carroll, an influential psychologist in the field of educational linguistics, developed a theory about a cluster of 4 abilities that factored into language learning aptitude. Separate from verbal intelligence and motivation, using these 4 distinct abilities, Carroll developed the MLAT language aptitude assessment for adults. The 4 ability components are defined as follows: phonetic coding ability, ability to perceive distinct sounds, associate a symbol with the sound, and retain that association. Grammatical sensitivity, ability to recognize the grammatical function of a lexical element in a sentence without explicit training in grammar. Rote learning ability, ability to learn association between words in a foreign language and their meaning and retain that association. Inductive learning ability, ability to infer or induce rules governing the structure of a language. Measurement of language learning aptitude are used in many different ways. The United States Department of Defense uses a measurement of language learning aptitude. The Defense Language Aptitude Battery to help place employees in position that require them to learn a new language. Government agencies use the MLAT as a tool to select and place employees in intensive language training program. Business and missionaries use the MLAT to select, place, and plan diagnosis of foreign language learning disabilities, although each institution has its own policy. Many will waive a foreign language requirement in case of a foreign language learning disability in favor of a history of linguistic course. Schools use the PLAB and MLAT-E to place students in suitable language course, build a history of a foreign language learning difficulty, identify specially gifted students in respect to language. B. Multiple intelligence. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence poses that there are at least 8 different types of intelligence. Gardner introduced MI theory in his 1983 book, Frame of Mind 1. Before MI theory, there was general intelligence or G factor, which represent a singular type of cerebral intelligence scored using IQ test. The concept of multiple intelligence takes the emphasis of G factor. MI theory broadens our concept of human intellect beyond G factor by proposing multiple intelligence. According to MI theory, each of us can have at least 8 different types of intelligence to varying degrees. Visual spatial intelligence. Having strong visual spatial intelligence means that someone is spatially good at perceiving real world visual information accurately, visualizing imaginary things in their mind's eye, and using visual and spatial representation to perform activities such as drawing, interpreting maps, or navigations. Linguistic verbal intelligence, logical mathematical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, musical intelligence. Difficulties in auditory discrimination. A child who has trouble with auditory discrimination may have difficulty telling the difference between words such as sister and sitter or cat and cot. Overall, the children can't distinguish between the slight difference in sounds of words. These problems can sometimes make it hard for children to understand what people are saying. This goes double for children in noisy environment, as classrooms often are, or even a child's home can be if they belong to a large family or loud music and television routinely blare. Auditory discrimination plays an important role in both language and reading skill development. In order to achieve literacy, children must have phonemic awareness. So, trouble with auditory discrimination can pose challenges to young readers. If a child was reading a book about flowers that includes a section about bees, or for example, they would need to be able to notice that the word bees is made up of three sounds: B, E, and Z. Children with auditory discrimination challenges may have trouble remembering the sequence of words and may write word incorrectly as well. Problem with higher order reading skills. As with any new skills, mastering higher order comprehension skills can be tricky for some learners. Some pupils might struggle with being able to identify a problem or failing to address the whole problem, understanding abstract concepts that require high visualization skills such as metaphors and smileys. Using times and energy wisely or efficiently, vocalizing or otherwise communicating information in a way that is clear and easy for others to understand. Deciding on the best way to address a problem or find a piece of information. As with new skills, mastering higher order comprehension skills can be tricky for some learners. Some pupils might struggle with being able to identify a problem or failing to address the whole problem, understanding abstract concepts that require high visualization skills such as metaphors and smileys. Next question: convergent thinking versus divergent thinking. Convergent thinking focus on finding on one well-defined solution to problem. Divergent thinking is the opposite of convergent thinking and involves more creativity. Convergent thinking is the process of identifying recognizable and real solution to challenges, while divergent thinking is a creative process that generates unique ideas and fresh opportunities. A convergent thinker may seek a single effective solution when presented with a simple situation. In contrast, a divergent thinker may offer several ideas. Direction: divergent thinking produces a range of suggestions with no specific order. Convergent thinking is linear and consistently centered on an optimal solution. Innovation: the primary objective of divergent thinking is to generate as many innovative options as possible. The focus of convergent thought is on recognized criteria and processes. Limits: divergent thinking can generate an infinite number of possible responses. Convergent thought seeks the optimal solution. Certainty: divergent thinking can consider imprecise and risky opportunities, with convergent thinking thoughts are either correct or incorrect. Efficiency: divergent thinking may want to assess all possible choices, which may make it unreliable. Convergent thinking systematically seek a solution and generate effective decision. Personality: divergent thinkers are often outgoing, innovative, and open to new experience. Convergent thinkers are typically introverted, rational, and more at ease with established truth. Complexity: divergent thinking supports complicated ideas without consideration for implementation. Convergent thinking is more effective with validated, straightforward concepts. Section B. Answer the following question in 150 words. Write a brief history of the education of the underprivileged. These are three clear stages in the history of education of the underprivileged. These are isolation, assimilation, and integration. Isolation: the early stage of education for the underprivileged all over the world was marked by isolation. Separate schools were established for the underprivileged learners. In America, for instance, there were schools for the black and white American children. In India, some states had separate schools for tribal children, and in other schools, the untouchable learners are made to sit separately from their higher caste upper class counterparts. Assimilation. The second phase of the education of the underprivileged is marked by the tendency to assimilate. Provisions were made for educating underprivileged learners along with the privileged learners in the same school. In India, for some time, there was a stage of isolation assimilation during which the untouchable low caste learners were asked to sit separately from the children of higher caste in the same class to school. But the school and the system of education was based on the dominant or the advantage group. Of the aim of education was to assimilate the underprivileged into the privileged culture. Integration. In the third phase of integration, attempts were first made to educate the underprivileged in their own language and culture so that they would develop a positive attitude to their own culture and language. Depending on these approaches stages, mainly three theories have been put forth to explain the poor school achievement of the underprivileged learners. Earlier, their poor school performance was ascribed to their innate to hereditary qualities, and later to their environment, and currently the blame on the school. Though historically there are three distinct stages of the education for the underprivileged, this does not mean that one stage came to an end giving way to another. For instance, isolation leading to assimilation at time it is found that all these three stages existed as a particular period of time in some countries. Next question. Discuss problem with higher order reading skills. Auditory and phonetic skills as well as the well developed vocabulary are all important for reading. At the outest, the young reader largely use graphophonic cues like looking at spelling and recalling word families when guessing unknown words. As the reader grows more proficient, she relies more on understanding on the context of puzzles out unknown words. Children with reading difficulty makes error through miscues along three dimensions. Graphophonic miscue. The child miscues the word by replacing it with a similar word. For example, reading butter for better or look for lock. Syntactic miscue. With the child reads mother was speaking in place of mother was singing, where the miscue has the same grammatical sense as the original word. Semantic miscue. Here the child replaces a word by its synonym or a word similar in meaning in place of reading we went to our homes. The child would read we went to our houses. Thus, we can see the children with reading difficulties do not have such a problem with context. They rather depend upon context to work out the meaning for new words and phrases. Last but not the least, children need to understand that the language used at school or in book is different from the language of speaking. Next question. Discuss the use of research tools. Some very useful research tool sites are these. These research tools let you design web-based question or survey that may be shown to your respondent or learners by emailing the survey link or adding it to your own website. You may distribute these questionnaires to those interested to take part in your research. Participants will be asked to click the link and complete the survey. The survey pages can typically be customized on these websites. You may alter the color scheme, add your logo to every page, add link, and much more. Old survey can be saved and new ones can be made. In most cases, you can create new surveys, edit unpublished surveys, delete old surveys, copy surveys, publish surveys to the internet, allow or prevent user from taking our survey more than once. Your control panel lets you have a view of all your surveys, published status, the number of questions, and how many participants have completed each survey. You can customize it to send you an email every time a participant takes the survey. Section C. Answer the following question in 250 words each. Discuss the procedure for supporting an autonomous learning. Learning can be viewed in the context of a language classroom as becoming aware of specific cognitive process and displaying the awareness through the language use. As educator, we might employ many techniques and motivating resources to promote this method. For instance, if we want to teach the class how to write paragraph, we can work together to create a few on the blackboard. If we give students time to reflect, encourage them to discuss and defend their decision and value their input, then quickly assume leadership, they will become acquainted with the criteria for assessing their own paragraphs through the conversion that goes along with it. After providing the kids with a checklist of writing a paragraph, we can begin the task. Additionally, students can choose passages from any topic to debate in class. Through such activities, the learner is guided to understand the cognitive process necessary to cultivate their capacity for independent thought and communication, as well as collaboration with others. Think about describing a character as an example. What do learners need to know in order to do it? In the first question that we teachers should consider in this situation. The solution may be found in real world communication examples, which are occasionally provided in the textbook itself. It is also possible for the teacher to ask the class to look for descriptions of characters in the books they read. This may be followed by the teacher analyzing a few descriptions together with the students, electing responses to questions such as what does the writer say about the character? What do you think about the character? What does the character think about himself or herself? How do they behave in different situations? Is there a change growth in the character during the story? Where does it happen? At this stage, the focus must be shifted to the use of appropriate discourse. The class may examine the samples available to them and choose which they prefer. The teacher may draw their attention to various lexical and grammatical choices too. Noticing different choices, considering and examining them during the process of writing with help the learner grow to the independent, especially when supported by the teacher. Discuss the learner characteristics that influence learning at school. General scholastic ability. Bright is one of the most frequently used adjectives when teachers and parents discuss students in the classroom. When parents contrast one child with a sibling or others, they frequently label one as bright and the other as less so. Teachers are often aware of "you are bright student" in their class. The phrase refers to having the capacity to comprehend and recall what is taught in a variety of disciplines, picking up knowledge rapidly, and performing well on tests. Language learning aptitude. Bright is one of the most frequently used adjectives when teachers and parents discuss students in the classroom. When parents contrast one child with a sibling of others, they frequently label one as bright and other as less so. Teachers are often aware of who are bright students in their class. Learning styles. Individual appears to have varied language learning styles according to educational psychologists who have studied in the process of learning. They have no relation to better or lower levels of learning capacity. They are both quite natural and efficient methods for engaging the mind with novel information. The various styles are not as clearly distinct or defined as left or right hardness, but they are similar nonetheless or orientation or preference for how knowledge and concepts are ingested and proceed in the classroom constitutes a student's usual learning style. But even these fashions can and frequently do evolve over time, although gradually. Personality, disposition, feeling, emotion, and social interaction. The term personality is a familiar one. When we talk about the describe individuals, we always say something about their personality, their typical way of behaving in their daily lives, and especially when relating to others. This is something in addition to and different from their abilities and skill achievement status and so on. Discuss specific reading difficulties and their remediations. Visual motor difficulties. Individuals appear to have varied learning styles according to educational psychologists who have studied the process of learning. These have no relation to better or lower levels of learning capacity. They are both quite natural and efficient methods for engaging the mind with novel information. The various styles are not as clearly distinct or defined as left or right hardness, but they are similar nonetheless, an adaptation of preference for how knowledge and concepts are ingested and proceed in classroom constituents a student's learning style. Auditory, verbal, and language difficulties. A youngster who experiences language delay may experience auditory discrimination and struggle to retell stories. Even though the child would keep the right order, their vocabulary and language structures would be inadequate. These kids might struggle to pronounce letters like sh or c. Additionally, they might not be able to repeat more than 4 numerals in a row, either forwards or backwards. Blending sounds may be problematic for kids with auditory, verbal, and language issues. They may be able to pronounce the letter individually, but are unable to blend them in word. A child might be able to read sh, I, or p separately, but is capable to pronounce them together in the word ship. They have this problem especially when they are reading longer words. Problem with higher order reading skills, auditory and phonetic skills, as well as well developed vocabulary are all important for reading. At the oldest, the younger reader largely use graphophonic quiz like looking at spelling and recalling word families when guessing unknown words. As the reader grows more proficient, she relies more on understanding of the context to puzzle out unknown words. Okay, सो यहाँ हमारा असाइनमेंट ख़त्म होता है. इफ़ यू हैव एनी क्वेरी आप हमारे व्हाट्सएप पे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, विच इज़ गिवन इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स. थैंक यू.